you are looking at a 2010 Jeep Wrangler JK. This is my Jeep. And when I bought it, I realized something wasn't quite right with it. Putting it in, it's a 6-speed. Putting it into first, you shift it out into second. Sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it would do that. Especially turning left, especially uphill. So my dad comes into the picture, not only this picture, but also into this story, because he's ultimately a mechanic. You could have, in an alternate lifetime, you could easily just opened your own shop and been very successful at that. That's how good my dad is at that sort of stuff. So he did a lot of research, and we tried to figure out what's actually causing it to happen. This is not just me experiencing this. This is quite common for people who have a JK model of the Jeep, that it's a 6-speed. It pops out of first. It kind of is funky going into reverse. What else do you know about it? Other people you read about this?
Well, some of them jump out in different gears, but the majority of them will jump out in first gear or in reverse. And it's just a sloppy shift altogether.
Yeah.
For the shift. So
if you're watching this video, if you sought out this video, it means that there's a good chance you just got your hands on one of these. Now granted, these are the newer ones. I don't know that it's doing it because they don't even make new JKs. They stopped making them. But mine's a 2010, right there in the middle of it. Jeep Wrangler, they acknowledged it was a problem, right, eventually, but there was never a recall on it. So therefore, what do you do if you're in this situation? So ultimately, thanks to my dad doing a little research, and if you can see this logo here, B&M shifters. Oh, I'm holding it upside down, so that doesn't do good. B&M shifters. It says B&M precision shifter equipped. So if you need a logo to look at, they gave me some stickers too when I bought this. There you go. That's probably easier on the eyes in this video. So there you go. There's some product placements so you can see what we're talking about here. B&M. This is sport shifters. So my dad was able to find out about this, and because what happened, it was funny. Where I'm in Nashville, it's so expensive to even get this repaired if they can repair it. But no shops near me could even really do it. So I thought it'd be smarter to bring it down here where I live, where my parents are in Alabama. And so tell the story about what happened when you took it to the shop here to try to get fixed.
Well, the guy said, okay, I want to see it happen. So he got it and he drove it he kept it for 5 days, drove it. And then when I went back to talk to him about it, he said, well, it never jumped out with me. I think it's fine. Just if I was you, I would just drive it. So it's going to be expensive to tear it apart, and I don't see a problem with it. It shifted great. So he just handed the keys back to me. So
at that point, it was like, well, what do we do? So my dad did some more research. He found out about B&M. So this was around $540 for the new shifter. And I guess you can show the old shifter. So apparently the concept is, what would you say, how would you label the actual problem and as far as what needs to be fixed? Because it's easy to think it's the transmission. But based on what we've experienced, what do you say?
I would say if it's casually popping out of first gear, I would say it's your shifter. What we found is they wear right here, which is, from what I understand, is causing the problem. I see some wear on this one. Not a whole lot, but probably enough to cause a problem. But the whole shifter is just it's just a flimsy shifter. It's not a really good quality shifter.
So you have a background.
That's the factory shifter.
Yeah, that's the old one.
Yeah.
The new one's in here, and I'll show it to you, but it's not going to look any different to you. I mean, I'll do that, but that's not important to this narrative here. But ultimately, you would watch the YouTube video that B&M makes, and you were able to see how to actually do it, which I will put a link to that video in the description of this one for anyone who needs to see how to do it. But you were able to do it based off of that video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It took you around 3 hours?
About 3 hours. Mm-hmm.
From the time you took the old one out, starting
from taking the old one out
to completion, took you about 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we're looking at. And so it's a matter of ultimately, but you actually got to get the new one. And so I'll also make it easy. I'll put a link in here through Amazon. I guess that's the most universal, easy way to get it. But you can but I'll make it easy. Put the link in there so that you can purchase it that way. So you can see exactly. And do you know right off what the name of it actually is? The specific name, just so we can make sure. Okay. So this is the box that it came in. I'm gonna try to zoom in without getting blurry here. There we go. So Precision Sport Shifter, the number there, 45195, and for this one specifically, 2007 to 2018. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure when they start making the JK. I think 2019 and beyond, I think is something else. But either way, this was a specific problem with the JK, which mine is a 2010, which I'm learning from this too. So 2005 to 2006 Jeep Wrangler TJ, so it could work for there, but I don't know that the TJ has this problem like the JK does. So this is the box that it came in. This was about $540 worth, somewhere around there, depending on what it costs now. So there we go. So, but the question is, did this fix the problem? Because ultimately the reason we even tried this is because you did research, looking online, and you basically, everyone who bought this said it fixed the problem.
Yep.
So today we tested. We basically drove from like, I don't know, like 10 a.m. to like 6 a.m. We were just where I'm from in Alabama. It's just the perfect place. You know, all these state parks, all these dirt roads, all these county roads, going through mud, going in puddles, drove through a river, which I will post that video on this channel as well. We drove up some steep grades, up and down. We drove in the rain. It just happened to rain. We did all these things, and so many times, like it got to where I knew when it was likely to do it. And I'm telling you, it would go. And if you're watching this because you can relate, this is what it's like. It's like, okay, you put it in first. You know you're about to go in second, especially for me, turning left, kind of up on a hill. You're just waiting on it. It was whenever my wife was in the car, she'd scream every time. And like we were hit by a car or something. It feels like that way. It like jars the Jeep that way first. But every time we were expecting to do it, it never did it.
Never did it.
It never did it. I gave it every opportunity to do it. Now for me, where I work in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and I live about 20 miles away in a neighboring town, it got to the point where it would do it sometime, somewhat randomly, between the time I left the house and the time I got to work, or on the way back. So about once a day, certain times it would do it. And then there'd be 2 or 3 days it didn't do it. So I'm like, maybe it's in my mind, maybe it's how I'm shifting. Well, this apparently has fixed the problem because we gave it the biggest road test today that it could possibly have. So based on what we can see, this fixed the problem. So it rules out in my mind that it is a transmission issue, because I can tell you when I'm shifting with this one, like whereas before it was just kind of, now it's like, you know you're in gear and you have to push harder for it to be in there. But if you've experienced the problem with the original one, you welcome this. You welcome the decisiveness of the shifter doing that. And it's almost, here's what I was telling my parents today as we were doing this test drive. It's almost like Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, how he talks about if a family gets a pet dog and no one basically decides to basically, you know, be the master of it. Instead, you're going to have whatever kind of dog just running around doing whatever it wants to do. That dog is looking for someone to be its leader. And that's how I feel with this shifter. It was like the Jeep finally had its master. It got the decisive shifting going on, and it solved the problem, even despite the situations I put it in today. So any closing thoughts on this?
Well, it was like when we talked, even if this didn't fix the problem, the shifter is so great, so much better than the factory shifter.
Yeah.
It's worth it to have it in, just for, like Nick was saying, the decisive, you know it's in gear, it's straightforward, it's there, and just so much a tighter shift. There's no wobbling in the shifter, nothing, just a very tight shift.
Yeah, because he had told me when he called me and said that the mechanic, the shop, gave the keys back because it never even popped out during that. He told me the options that, well, we can take it back and say fix it anyway. We can take it to a different transmission place and have them look at it. Or he said you can invest about $540 in this, basically, which is a gamble. You know, it was a gamble, but for me it was less of a gamble overall. If it didn't work, then overall it cost more money to fix it if I had to get in the transmission changed or rebuild or whatever. But ultimately, if it did work, then in that case it became less of a gamble because $540-ish would ultimately fix it. So what a relief though. And we have talked about this in other videos, how people, despite the internet, there's not enough people talking about actual solutions for this. So I'm very proud to be able to share this story because now my dream vehicle is fixed. The problem is solved, and it was funny because today we were just, every time I was putting out, it was going out at first, we both you learn to just kind of grimace and wait for it to.
That's right. Yeah.
And by the end of our 5-6 hours, or however long we were driving today, got to where I didn't do it anymore because I finally had the faith that I needed to know that this actually fixed the problem. It gave me that control that it needed, that guidance that it needed.
I would say you were in first gear 100 times through this, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
In first, stopping and going so many times, and not once did it pop out at first. So.
Yeah. So we're sold. We're absolutely believers about this product, about this solution, and so I highly recommend start with this. I guess you would have to find someone who could install it for you if you don't have the mechanical mind. Like I don't personally, but my dad does. So again, I'm going to make it easy. There's going to be a link to buy the thing on Amazon. There's going to be a link to the video that B&M created that my dad watched. And then I'll also even have a third link in there. I'm going to end up doing a blog post about this, type it all out, and you can look at pictures and that sort of thing of what's going on. I'll close the video out for what it's worth by showing you the thing. But again, you're not going to be looking at anything special here. It's not that it looks any different. It completely shifts different, but we're not talking about anything special here. So there you go. There's what it looks like for the 6-speed, and this Ultima. I'm gonna close the video on this. Just give you one more shot of exactly what to look for, as if all the links I will provide if they weren't enough. Thanks for watching the video. Best of luck to you finding peace with your Jeep Wrangler 6-speed. JK.